for officers stationed in designated areas as an incentive to partially compensate public servants working in the so designated areas. So, Mr. Speaker, let me then go immediately on updating on the report of the Interagency Technical Committee on the mode of addressing existing disparities and designated hardship allowances. Mr. Speaker, in cognizance of the existing disparities in hardship areas in the public service and to provide fairness and parity of treatment of public servants, the government, through the ministry responsible for public service, constituted an interagency technical committee to undertake a study and review designated hardship areas. This committee was appointed in March 2019, and it comprised of the following: the Ministry of Public Service and Gender then, the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, the Ministry of Education, the National Treasury and Planning, the Judiciary, Public Service Commission, Teacher Service Commission, and Salaries and Review Commission, Remuneration Commission, Commission on Revenue Allocation, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and the Council of Governors. And they had specific terms of reference. Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, I'll just highlight a few of the recommendations of the committee's report. And these were: there are areas currently designated as hardship or petitioned by stakeholders to be categorized as hardship. However, upon review, they were found not to be hardship qualified. The severity of hardship in the reviewed areas vary from moderate to extreme. Some of the currently designated hardship areas covered an entire county, sub-county division uniformly. It is, however, noted that some regions have only specific locations with moderate or extreme hardship conditions, and the areas were reviewed and categorized appropriately. Not all public officers working in hardship areas are compensated through payment of hardship allowance. This is due to disparities in the current policy guidelines on designated hardship areas. Some areas that were previously designated as hardship areas have acquired a different status following implementation of the devolved system of governance and improved socioeconomic development. So, Mr. Speaker, these were broadly the findings. The committee report was finalized. This is the status of the report at this point in time. Was finalized and submitted to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission for concurrence. The SRC reviewed it and provided proposed rates for hardship allowance. It was to subsequently issue advice to the public service on the new rates once the hardship areas are gazetted. However, Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform the House that a court case filed in the Employment and Labor Relations Court at Nairobi by the Kenya Teachers in Hardship and Arid Areas Welfare Association versus the Teachers Service Commission, Public Service Commission, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and the Attorney General has temporarily blocked the implementation of the report. The court case has sought to overturn the report and ensure the continuous payment of allowances in the status quo, arguing that the implementation of the report's recommendations would violate constitutional fair labor practice and socioeconomic rights. The court issued a temporary injunction to maintain the status quo until the case is heard and determined. Further, taking cognizance of the socioeconomic changes which may have occurred in the areas studied by the committee since 2019, the Ministry of Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs has submitted a brief to Cabinet to consider a review to align the report to any changes in the socioeconomic status which may have occurred in the proposed areas. Mr. Speaker, let me focus now on the criteria used by the government in determining hardship areas in the country. And it would be important for me to just point out that in the past, areas were previously, and areas that were to be designated, it occurred through consultation with the Office of the President, through the then Provincial Administration and Internal Security, and the Directorate of Personnel Management. This, of course, has changed significantly. Now, as we stand now, Mr. Speaker, the civil service, county governments, and state corporations have 16 designated hardship areas. The teaching service has 44 hardship areas, while the judiciary has 21 hardship areas. And I have, Mr. Speaker, attached an appendix which is attached to this statement, indicating specifically the areas that fall under each institution. Now, the criteria used are as follows. And again, I have attached a detailed appendices. It shows that the criteria covers 7 areas, 7 parameters determined by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And these are as follows. 1, the issue of food availability, unavailability, and inaccessibility. These are weighted, that is a parameter. The other parameter that comes into play is water, unavailability, and inaccessibility. Then we have the third aspect, which focuses on transport and communication services and looks at their inadequacy or adequacy. Then there's the fourth aspect parameter, which is social services, and this covers unavailability in areas or inaccessibility of schools, the distance covered, the electricity, connectivity, etc. Then we have the fifth parameter, which covers climate conditions and terrain, the harshness. And this is factored in as a parameter, whether the area is semi-arid, arid, hot, dry, etc. The terrain and how it affects the performance of the public officer. The sixth parameter is security. What is the level of high possibility of security threats? And this could be at 2 levels. There could be human-wildlife conflict security, as an example, and there could be banditry, cattle rustling, and aspects that can also affect the security of the public officers. The 7th parameter, Mr. Speaker, focuses on the poverty severity, and this again has a scientific approach to it developed by the Kenya Bureau of Statistics. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I just want to focus briefly on the steps taken by the government to ensure that the criteria used in determining hardship areas in the country is fair to all. Mr. Speaker, by engaging professionals within the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and ensuring that there's a parameter and weighted approach to determining the areas that deserve is critical to ensure that there's fairness. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the fact that this is a multi-agency technical team that works together to ensure that there is minimum interference in terms of skewed perception. These 2 aspects are very important in ensuring that the hardship areas are determined fairly and treated fairly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You can go. Members with questions to this, hold your horses. We deal with the Russian issue as well. Then we combine them. Go ahead and speak to the unlawful recruitment of Kenyans to foreign armies. Then we can take supplementary requests to both. Is Okello in the house? Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will take the same approach, Mr. Speaker. I will highlight the critical aspects and then submit the detailed report to Parliament for further interrogation or review. Honorable Speaker, I rise to address this House on a matter of profound national importance regarding the illegal recruitment of Kenyans into the special military operations of the Russian Federation, and to further praise the National Assembly of the measures the government has undertaken to secure the safe repatriation of our nationals so far recruited. Mr. Speaker, I wish to proceed as follows. First, the data from our embassy in Moscow indicates that approximately 252 Kenyans may have been enlisted in the Russian special military operations. The number could be higher, but the exact figure, as we may want to indicate that we can vouch for, is the 252 figure. Mr. Speaker, the second aspect is that to date, 47 Kenyans have been rescued by the through the Kenyan embassy and facilitated for safe repatriation to come home. 47. On the prisoners of war, we have records of 2 Kenyans, namely Evans Kibet and Macharia Willie Muniu, who are being held in Ukraine. The Kenya Honorary Council in Kyiv, Ukraine, has made consular visits to one of the Kenyans held and has requested to get clearance to visit the Kenyan one, the second one. At the moment, we only can talk of 2 specific cases in this category of prisoners of war. Mr. Speaker, I wish to point out that during my recent official visit to Moscow, I engaged and agreed with the Russian minister to explore arrangements for Kenyans held as prisoners of war in Ukraine to be transferred to the Russian Federation to facilitate their subsequent repatriation to Kenya. At the end of March 2026, Mr. Speaker, I wish to also put this on record that there were approximately 1,000 Kenyan nationals living, working and studying in Russia. This is different from the ones enlisted illegally, the ones living there. The breakdown is that 300 are students and 450 are engaged in different economic activities, and they are not facing any threat whatsoever. I wanted to put this on record because there has been a misinformation that all Kenyans in Russia are in distress. that is not exactly true. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to point out a few other things. It has been established that the recruitment is being conducted by unregistered agencies and individuals operating either in Kenya, Russia, or third countries. Some in the Middle East. They use tourist visas and transit routes through neighboring countries to evade scrutiny at our points of exit where surveillance is high. Mr. Speaker, this recruitment primarily targets ex-security personnel and unemployed persons. We have, however, noted some Kenyans holding regular security jobs in the Middle East are abandoning their positions and voluntarily joining the special military operations in Russia. With the current crisis in the Middle East, there's a heightened risk that this could possibly further fuel recruitment from third countries. Mr. Speaker, contrary to prevailing reports, majority of Kenyans enlisted in the special military operations of Russia went there with their full knowledge and willingly. They signed contracts to participate either as logistics officers or for combat. The lucrative compensation ranging from 1.5 to 3 million Kenya shillings upon joining, and a monthly salary of Kenya shillings 50,000 to 350,000, as well as a promise of citizenship and hefty gratuity upon completion of the contract, have been a major motivation. We want, at this point, Mr. Speaker, to point out that it is not worth it. Mr. Speaker, in my trip to Russia on the 16th to 18th of March, I was accompanied by a delegation comprising members of parliament. I wrote to your office and you cleared the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations, the Diaspora Affairs and Migrant Workers Committee, and the Departmental Committee on Labor, together with the Principal Secretary for Diaspora, to address this matter. In the spirit of transparency, I was also accompanied by journalists from various media houses in Kenya who are able to establish facts and give their own independent reports. Mr. Speaker, let me now turn to the detailed conclusions with the meeting I held with my counterpart, His Excellency Sergei Lavrov, Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, where the following commitments were made. First, the placement of Kenya on a stop list, effectively ending any further enlistment of Kenyans into Russia's special military operations. Secondly, agreement to facilitate consular services by the Kenya Embassy to Kenyan nationals in hospitals and civilian facilities. 3, the Ministries of Defense of Kenya and Russia to work on facilitation of voluntary disengagement of Kenyans involved in the military operations as per the terms of contract. 4, agreement to expedite compensation processes for those who are owed resources or compensation. 5, the two states agreed to initiate bilateral labor agreements to create a safer and regular pathway for Kenyans seeking legitimate work in the Russian Federation. This will mitigate against the challenges we are dealing today. Kenya and Russia also agreed on how to strengthen information sharing so that we can jointly combat trafficking and smuggling networks that exploit vulnerable individuals through misleading recruitment schemes. Lastly, we also agreed on deepening bilateral ties, including expanding trade and investments, increasing the number of scholarships to Kenyans, enhancing cooperation in agriculture, energy, health, civil aviation, and Russian capacity building in handling humanitarian crisis. Mr. Speaker, for all those who are being assisted, the Kenyan Embassy in Moscow continues to facilitate them and to issue them with emergency travel documents. Mr. Speaker, let me also just contextualize something. It is important to note that the size of the Russian Federation spans over 17 million square kilometers. To be precise, 17.1 million square kilometers, making it the largest country in the world. For illustration, Russia is more than half the size of the African continent, which measures 30.4 million square kilometers. So Russia is more than half of Africa. Some of the frontline areas are around 450 to 500 kilometers away from Moscow, while others are as far as 800 kilometers away from Moscow. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to bring this out so that when the debate around this challenge is ongoing, it is important for Kenyans to appreciate that they are dealing with half a continent. It is not an ordinary province. It is half a continent. Somebody is about 1,000 kilometers away from the capital, Moscow. So these are issues that need to be appreciated. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity to actually commend the 6 mission staff, 6 in Moscow. We only have the ambassador and 5 officers. The others are local staff, but we have only 6 officers. The ambassador is Mathuki, and he has his 5 officers. So this is the team that has been focusing on helping Kenyans in distress in Russia. Mr. Speaker, we have taken further action to try and deal with this menace. We have deregistered 600 non-compliant or rogue private recruitment agencies, and we will also table the schedule of these deregistered recruitment agencies to the House so that it's also on record. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Diaspora will continue to work very closely with the National Employment Authority to ensure that the issue of labor mobility is more structured, safer, and grants Kenyans better job opportunities. The Diaspora Department also has a 24-hour call center which deals with emergency situations to help Kenyans in distress. Mr. Speaker, this is just a highlight of some of the areas that we have to cover. Over and above that, Mr. Speaker, we intend to amend the legislations that govern labor mobility to make it tighter so that Kenyans are not put in harm's way. We have also established, this is going to be through a multi-agency entity covering the security agencies, immigration, diaspora, labor, security, etc. Mr. Speaker, we will also be looking afresh at the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act because the penalties there need to be strengthened. As it stands now, the penalty is lenient, So we need to have Parliament to review so that the level of punishment for these heinous crimes can be tougher. Mr. Speaker, we also have sought Cabinet approval to accede to both the 1989 United Nations Convention against the recruitment, use, financing, and training of mercenaries, the 1977 Organization of African Unity Convention for the Elimination of Mercenaries in Africa, and a proposal for the amendment to the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act, Cap 61 of the laws of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I'm bringing this out because for all intents and purposes, we signed off on these conventions, but we had not gone through the whole process, and upon the executive process being complete, we shall submit them here so that they can now be ratified by Parliament in accordance with Article 2(6) of the Constitution of Kenya. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, with that, we shall be able to treat these people as what they really are, because they are essentially operating as mercenaries, and therefore it would be in breach of the law. Mr. Speaker, let me highlight that there is also Section 68 of the Penal Code, which, Cap 63, which criminalizes the enlistment, service, or training of Kenyan citizens in foreign military or armed forces without the written authority of the President. So, Mr. Speaker, for all intents and purposes, those who are engaging in this exercise, even as Kenyans, they are engaging in a criminal activity. And therefore, the government has intervened. We are extending an amnesty so that they can pull back voluntarily. Otherwise, going into the future, it is clear that once it is established they've been involved in this exercise, they stand to face the full force of the law for engaging in criminal activities. Mr. Speaker, we also discussed that there is need between Russia and Kenya to develop instruments on mutual legal assistance and to also develop instruments on the transfer of prisoners and sentenced persons. And finally, we also, as I have said earlier, will be looking at amendments to the Labor Migration Bill of 2025. I think there's some conversation. I think there's one before the House, and we hope that the concerns will be fully captured so that we can deal with that. Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, let me just flag two other issues which I will also submit to Parliament, if I can do so with your underlines, because it's the same topic.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to point out that there is also a growing threat around what we call the Golden Triangle. Mr. Speaker, the Golden Triangle is the border region where Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand meet along the Mekong River, which turns out to be a human trafficking hub for forced criminality. The Golden Triangle has been known for trade, both legal and illegal, at the special economic zones set out to attract foreign investment, tourism, and infrastructure development. However, because of weak oversight and remote geography, some of the special economic zones have become hubs for organized crime, human trafficking, online fraud, and money laundering. Mr. Speaker, in this Golden Triangle, but it's not exactly golden, Kenyan youth, primarily between the ages of 23 and 35, have become soft targets due to the high demand for overseas employment and opportunities in technology, finance, service sectors, and digital jobs. The criminal networks running these compounds are highly organized, with recruitment usually looking legitimate. The following processes are used to lure unsuspecting job seekers: fraudulent online job advertisements, abuse of tourist visas, rerouting, that is victims leaving and then going through other countries, and then others, upon arrival, travel documents are confiscated. Mr. Speaker, the nature of the victim exploitation includes constant surveillance and confinement. These victims are not allowed to move. They have no freedom. They are then abused physically and psychologically. They are forced to participate in online fraud schemes. They are exploited sexually. In extreme cases, they are sold to larger scam compounds for organ harvesting or disposed in the forests after death. They also go through a lot of starvation, poor medical care, debt bondage, ransom demand, and victims are forced to work for up to 16 to 18 hours. Mr. Speaker, I'm highlighting this because we want to save our young citizens. Trafficking routes are varied and many. Mr. Speaker, some go through JKIA, then Bangkok, and then from there by road transport and into Myanmar. Others go through JKIA, Ethiopia, Bangkok, and then again they land into trouble. Others go through JKIA, Ethiopia, via China, and then find their way into Bangkok. Others via India, Malaysia, Kenya, Uganda, through the Busia border, road by flight, and then a flight through a third country. This, Mr. Speaker, is the trend, and it goes on and on. Let me just quickly highlight, Mr. Speaker, that in Myanmar from 2022 to 2026, over 751 Kenyans have been rescued. 615 have been repatriated. 39 were imprisoned in Myanmar for illegal entry and being repeat offenders in cybercrime. About 97 who crossed to Thailand are in the Immigration Detention Center awaiting deportation. In Cambodia, from January to March 2026, 323 Kenyans have been rescued. 234 have been successfully repatriated, and the remaining 89 are in the process of being repatriated as others are being rescued. In Laos, 29 Kenyans have been repatriated to date. Thailand, 14 Kenyans were imprisoned for bearing forged immigration stamps. Over time, 3 Kenyans have reportedly lost their lives in the scam compounds. Mr. Speaker, this is a grim and scary communication, but it is important that we highlight this so that awareness can help in saving lives. The Department of Diaspora continues through a lot of efforts, as I indicated some earlier, of communicating all the time and helping to rescue these Kenyans. And they also engage in continuous sensitization. And where there is structured migration, the diaspora department normally engages in pre-departure travel advisories so that they can keep Kenyans away from harm. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I thought that that is important, and also some of these Kenyans acquire dangerous cybercrime skills, which, when they do come back, can be very dangerous to the country. So it is not a light matter, it is a complicated matter, and there's a multi-agency approach with all the departments of government, particularly security-related, foreign affairs, diaspora, labor, working together to ensure that Kenyans are safe. So it may not be always in the public domain, Mr. Speaker, but there's a lot of effort going on to help Kenyans. Finally, Mr. Speaker, just to very briefly say that the conflict in the Middle East has implications for Kenyans in the region. We have approximately 500,000 Kenyans residing and working in the Gulf and surrounding Middle East region. The effects of the Middle East war is therefore real to Kenyans. The crisis entails security risks for the 500,000 Kenyans. We could face reduced foreign exchange earnings through remittances. We are all beginning to feel the impact of air transport disruption. Oil prices and inflation could start filtering through into the economy. We are seeing disruption of our exports. We are seeing fertilizer and other critical supplies being hindered, and we could also face a possible hit on tourism. So, Mr. Speaker, these are challenges that are arising within the context of the Middle East crisis, and we all look forward to a situation where it can be de-escalated and stopped so that there can be a road to recovery. This is important for Kenyans to put in context, because we were just beginning to recover from the devastating global effects of COVID, and we are now seeing a very disruptive war again. Mr. Speaker, let me mention that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, working with both our embassies and the Diaspora Department, as at 22nd of March, 15 Kenyans were evacuated from the Islamic Republic of Iran with travel tickets fully funded by the government of Kenya, while an additional 6 individuals were facilitated with the issuance of travel documents to enable their safe return. So this is something where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is in constant touch with, through the embassies, with Kenyan nationals in all these countries. The government has also issued advisories to Kenyans, and we keep updating them on what the situation is like. We have also submitted support through requisition for support to the National Treasury, because we do not have an exact picture on how long this crisis could last and its full implications. So we may need the support of Parliament to facilitate an additional 400 million or so on standby to ensure that in the event of this escalation, we can help in intervening for Kenyans. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I also wish to point out that we have lost 1 Kenyan in Iraq when the missiles or the drones were firing. We lost one Kenyan in Iraq in an unfortunate strike. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that summarizes, and I will ensure that the documents are submitted or tabled for further scrutiny by the House. Thank you.
Thank you, PCS. Members, you've heard that. 4 policy statements on hardship areas and their designation and review. 2 on the Kenyans being recruited unlawfully to foreign armies, particularly Russia. 3, the conflict in the Middle East and its effect on Kenya. And lastly, the issue of the Golden Triangle and the young Kenyans being lured to go to Myanmar and the environs of that area for various criminal indoctrinations. Now we can take requests, clarifications, and questions on those 4 issues. Majority Leader, PCS will take 10. So when you stand, you say on which of the 4 you are focusing on so that we can assist in the management of time. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mine will be very quick. One is on the hardship areas to PCS, on the classification of these hardship areas. The disparity comes in when, especially the Ministry of Education, and it's good because I did hear the PCS say that the task force that was established in 2019 had the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Education. But the culprit really is the Teachers Service Commission, because it is teachers actually who push, and many of the petitions that have come to the House relate to teachers who want hardship allowances in areas that were previously designated as hardship areas, but which since have changed. So what I would want to hear from the PCS is what they are doing in government today to make sure that there is standardization, so that those areas that are classified as hardship areas for teachers are also classified as hardship areas for police officers, for instance, under the Ministry of Interior. The other one, Honorable Speaker, is not a question, is really a comment on the illegal recruitment of Kenyans into the foreign armies, and especially in Russia. Because as the PCS has said, there are many who have transited to Russia through third countries, or third-party countries, or, as we may say, through our neighboring countries. Some who moved from, who already had jobs in the United Arab Emirates, others in Qatar, and then transitioned and went on to work in Russia. I don't know what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the State Department for Diaspora Affairs would do to, in their engagements with Kenyans in their diaspora, to enlighten them on the need to stick to the jobs that they have already acquired in those other countries, other than being enticed, because those, I engaged with a parent, Honorable Speaker, of a young person who moved from Qatar, where he was working as a security agent or a security officer in a nice hotel, and was enticed with a better pay to go and work in the security sector in Russia, without being told they are going to work in the army. So I don't know what the State Department for Diaspora Affairs would do to enlighten Kenyans, even those who are working outside our country in the diaspora, that when they want to change jobs, for instance, from the Gulf states to other countries, that they could liaise with the State Department for Diaspora Affairs through the Kazi Maju program to be able to ascertain that the jobs they are being promised out there are jobs similar to what they are doing, so that you are not enticed with a better paying job and you end up being recruited in an illegal army in Russia or elsewhere. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Jared Okello.
Thank you. I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would want to restrict myself to the classification of areas as hardship. Honorable Speaker, this is the second time that our good Prime Cabinet Secretary has come before us to shed light on this most disturbing matter. And I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, because you have consistently stuck with us on this subject. and I hope your intervention, together with that of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, will finally bear fruits, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as our Prime Cabinet Secretary could be aware, Nyando constituency, which I represent, sit right between Muhoroni and Nyakach, both of which are benefiting from the hardship allowances, and Nyando does not. And in all the successive years you hear of flooding or adverse weather conditions, it is about Nyando constituency, Honorable Speaker. So there is a live matter before court that the Prime Cabinet Secretary has alluded to, case number E086 of 2025. Fortunately, this House is not a respondent in that matter. Together with the Ministry of Public Service, which is actually mandated to do gazettement of hardship areas, is equally not part of that live matter before court, Honorable Speaker. Whereas there are people who've gone to court who would feel disenfranchised by removing them out of that criteria, Honorable Speaker, I do not think that they additionally went to court to challenge new entrants into the scheme, such as Nyando constituency, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, now that the Ministry of Public Service is not party to this House, where this whole issue originated from, is not party to this live matter before court, what stops the Ministry, Honorable Speaker, from gazetting those areas that were put into the new scheme and now wait for the court to determine the issue of those who should cede ground and be taken out of the scheme, Honorable Speaker? So that is my concern.
Thank you. Sane.
Thank you.
Honorable Sane.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the differences in the classification of hardship areas by three institutions, Interior, Teacher Service Commission, and the Judiciary, bespeaks that the criteria is not harmonized and it's not common. Mr. Speaker, hardship is an environmental issue. It is an asal issue. It's a climatic issue, rather a scientifically determined issue. It's not a political issue. When you use parameters like insecurity, simple flare-ups that may not last long cannot be a factor to consider to classify an area as a hardship area. We are going the same way, the way we have diluted equalization fund to cover up in major swaths of this country. Mr. Speaker, I believe we have politicized what is scientific. Hardship areas are ecological areas that have no rainfall, or rather receive erratic rainfall. Could the Speaker shed light how a scientific matter is handled differently? Jesus knows that Wajir is a hardship area, and it doesn't change, even with devolution. It doesn't. So it is more of politics than what really hardship area is. It is an environmental matter. Why should it be? Why should other parameters be brought on board to dilute the matter? Thank you.
Yes, Nabi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to know, I'm restricting myself to the Russia-Ukraine mess. I would like to know from the PCS whether he is aware that Erastus Mundia of passport number BK 642770 of Lugari constituency, Mautuma ward, is one of those who died in Ukraine, and what the ministry is doing to get the body back home.
Rindikiri.
Thank you. I want to confine myself on the question on hardship. And I want to take reference with my constituency that borders Isiolo and Laikipia. Mr. Speaker, the problem is Bole is on the leeward side, 3/4, sharing the same geographical and climatic conditions with Isiolo and Laikipia. And the fence, actually you can't even know where the boundaries are. We've been losing teachers to Isiolo and Laikipia. It's a common problem. Our learning institutions have no teachers, but when you go across the fence, you find schools, teachers working shift. So the question is, what criteria did they use to deny Bore constituency and take Laikipia and Isiolo, knowing very well the determinant is geographical and climatic condition. Number two, if we use insecurity as a measure, Bore is on the northern grazing zone. It's one of those constituencies that have been affected by banditry menace. So on that basis also, Bore qualifies as a hardship. So I don't know. I think, Mr. Speaker, you have to intervene here, because I think we are having a government discriminating against some other constituencies in favor of others.
The policy holder is here.
I think.
Makale Mulu. PCS will take the first 10. The time allocated is running out, but let's see what we can do.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll be very brief. What I wanted to ask is, Honorable Speaker, you'll find that where you have teachers and security officers, there are also nurses, there are doctors, there are agricultural officers, and you find while the teachers are earning hardship allowance together with the security officers, the rest are not earning hardship allowances. What explanation can we give to those civil servants who are not teachers and are not security officers?
Musa Sirma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak about this hardship. Mr. Speaker, my constituency is the only constituency in Baringo County without hardship. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we border.
Is hardship a virtue?
It is, of course, it is monetary.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, currently, all the schools in my constituency are like private schools. You will find a school requiring 10 teachers. We have only 4. So parents have to meet the difference in terms of employing those who are required. My neighbors, that is Rongai being one, Mogotio, Keyo South, even Tinderet are my neighbors. And all of them are in hardship. And all the teachers are moving away from Koibatek constituency, Koibatek sub-county. And all the teachers, the TSC staff are taking bribes from teachers to go to the hardship areas. So all what we are doing now is we are suffering as a constituency. Mm-hmm. We have no teachers, and we have never been given affirmative action to employ more teachers in my constituency to meet the difference of those teachers who are being moved illegally by TSC out of my constituency. Mr. Speaker, this is a very imbalanced way, and we have never been given that affirmative in terms of either employment or given hardship. Other departments in Koibatek sub-county receive hardship, apart from the Teachers Service Commission and provincial administration. All others are receiving hardship. What is the difference? Mr. Speaker, we need that clarified and given hardship as all others who are receiving in Koibatek. Thank you.
Paul Katana.
Asante, Bwana Spika, kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Ningependa kusema kwamba viegezo vyote ambavyo waziri amezungumzia kwamba vinatumika ili kusema maeneo ni maeneo magumu zaidi kama mambo ya ukame, kutokuwa na nyumba, usalama na moto. Vigezo vyote hivi viko ndani ya eneo bunge langu la Kaloleni. Na jirani yangu pale Ganze tuna shida sawia na Kaloleni. Lakini Kaloleni iliachwa. Ganze wakapata allowances, lakini Kaloleni hatujapata. Na hii Bwana Spika imechangia walimu wengi kutoka ama kuchukua kutafuta kwenda maeneo mengine kwa sababu ya hali ngumu ilivyo katika eneo bunge langu. Swali ni kwamba, je, walitumia kigezo gani kuipatia Ganze na kuacha Kaloleni? Vile vile tukisema kwamba ni walimu peke yake na maafisa wa polisi, kuna wafanyaji kazi wengi wa serikali ambao wanafanya kazi kule, na kama hawapati haya marupurupu inakuwa ni vigumu kuendelea kufanya kazi katika eneo bunge la Kaloleni. Kwa hivyo tunamwambia waziri arudie mpango wa kuangalia sehemu ambazo zina ugumu ili tuweze kupata huduma, ama wakazi wa Kaloleni waweze kupata huduma kama Wakenya wengine. Asante Bwana Spika.
Pareyo, Narok North.
Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to raise this issue, because I was one of the members who complained on the hardship allowances or areas. My constituency in Narok North works under very hard difficulties, because sometimes in some of the areas it rains the whole day, and teachers in my areas undergo very hard conditions when they go to work. And as we speak, Mr. Speaker, teachers are running away from the schools because of the hardship or the difficulties they go through as they work. And when you look at my constituency, other constituencies that we border with, like Narok East, they are beneficiaries, and Narok West are beneficiaries. But when you go to Narok North, there is none of the areas that are benefiting from the hardship allowances. So I stand to say that the Prime Minister should look at the conditions they use, because I tend to believe that in my area is one of the areas that are working under hardship difficulties. Teachers are running away. We now have a shortage of teachers in my constituency. And therefore, I tend to think that that report should favor everybody, because it will look like it is biased, because people are undergoing very hard conditions when they go to work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ochanda. Is bond also hardship?
Let the mic come here. Now, Mr. Speaker, PSC brought in an issue of criteria, which I think was good. Yes. But he didn't give us the process of identification, the process of how do you get to be identified. There are criteria, yes, but of course he also alluded to some application at one stage. Do people apply, do communities apply, and what is the process like before they are subjected to the criteria? The last one, Mr. Speaker, I don't know which magician categorized parts of Nyanza as hardships and left out all our islands. All the islands in the lake were left out. Bondo has 5 habitable islands, and all of them are left out in this categorization of hardships, Mr. Speaker. I don't know which magician was this, Mr. Speaker.
Those are 10. Let's have a response. Mandazi, I'll give you after this. Yes, PCS, you are facing a tricky situation. A lot of rain is being described as hardship. Drought is being described as hardship. So let's hear your policy on this.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it's becoming interesting. Nairobi got floods the other day. I don't know whether we should eventually make it a hardship area. But, Mr. Speaker, let me state as follows. First of all, I just want to mention to the House that please understand that to some extent, we are limited in our response to these questions by virtue of the matter still being stalled in court. And therefore, we cannot benefit fully on the process and the findings of the report until the court case is determined. Now, I just want to state that although the Ministry of Public Service may not be there directly as a respondent, but the fact that you have the Public Service Commission and you have the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, then the Ministry of Public Service is hamstrung because it cannot implement anything to do with the human resource aspects if the other two agencies or institutions are embargoed through the court process. So that is the issue that we hope will then be overcome and we can be able to move forward. Mr. Speaker, let me try and flag out a few areas. First, I want to state that the very essence of the report is to try to deal with these discrepancies. And I can give an example. My friend, the MP from Mburi, did give an example, but you can face a situation just across the road. You'll be in Rongai, or you'll be in Ngong, and Rongai may not benefit from the hardship, but you may find a place further away in the same Kajiado district is being affected. So these discrepancies, which have been earmarked and found in the, captured in the report, maybe not all of them, but the broad principle, will affect certain areas because even in the same constituency, in the same county, there may not be uniformity. And this report seeks to harmonize these discrepancies which have been bringing up the challenge that we have. So it would be a folly for me to try and respond to each area, but I want to talk about it in the context of this report intending to correct the situation. I also want to point out that in the technical committee, the Teacher Service Commission was part of that committee. They were not left out. I think it was raised by the leader of majority. They were part of it. So the decisions and they are therefore contributors to the outcome of that particular report. I believe that the report will indicate harmonization. It is going to also indicate in some areas migration of certain areas from being classified as hardship to non-hardship areas. We will also be dealing in that report with a more detailed approach to determining which is a deserving area in terms of hardship. I also want to flag the fact that in the report, the parameters are laid out. It's not arbitrary. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is an institution that has well-qualified people technically and professionally. And in the document that I will be submitting to Parliament, you will be able to see that there is a weighting. It's a weighted system which they have approached and arrived at from a scientific perspective to be able to give weight to the unavailability of food, the unavailability of water, transport complications, social service disparities, climate conditions and terrain, poverty indices, security and high possibility threats in certain areas which feed into this particular document. So, Mr. Speaker, at this point in time, let me say that we have taken note of the specific areas, and we'll also draw it from the Hansard, where specific aspects have been raised. Rather than attempting to respond to each unique area, I would like to be able to benefit from a more comprehensive outcome that is in the report that is completed, but currently just held back because of the judicial process. However, Mr. Speaker, I think it's also important to point out that we are going to Singapore. And hardship places cannot be a permanent station. You know, we will have to invest, and areas that were very difficult in the past have systematically transformed into very, very dynamic and modern spaces. And therefore, we should not, as a nation, be haggling to be designated as hardship areas. I think we should be, for good intent, be working towards making sure that there is no place in Kenya that shall be designated a hardship area, so that we can equally have access to all facilities, all services, without discrimination whatsoever. That should be our true north. And that is why I said that we are headed to Singapore, and therefore the hardship areas must reduce and not increase. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me now touch briefly on the issue that was raised about Mundia by the Honorable Nabi, Erastus Mundia. We have on record that we lost 10 Kenyans in that battle, and some may not have been fully identified. But through this collaboration with the government of Russia, and equally also the government of Ukraine, we are trying our level best, where through proper identification, because this is a war zone, and some of them may no longer be identifiable because of the kind of weaponry that has been used. But we are trying to track and get full detail of the 10. We also have record of about 38 other Kenyans who are held in hospital facilities. But as and when we get information, we communicate with the next of kin. So on this issue of Erastus, if we have more reliable information, we shall not hesitate to communicate and share with the family. Yeah. I want to just repeat that the Department of Diaspora continues to sensitize the issue of labor mobility, and we want to have constructive or productive labor mobility. We have very, very positive outcomes for many Kenyans. In fact, the cases of distress, they may gain more space in the media outlets, but there are actually more Kenyans with better stories who are actually working in different countries globally. But that does not mean that we don't take them seriously. We do take them seriously, but I want to appeal, let us work with licensed agencies, let us work with the Department of Diaspora for placement advice. Let us make sure that the National Employment Agency is contacted. Let us make sure that because these departments are there to work for Kenyans. They are there to work for Kenyans. So Kenyans should not be shy to seek advice from them. In Kiswahili, we normally say, kuuliza si ujinga. It is perfectly in order to seek information, and we want to encourage Kenyans to do so if they wish to engage in placement outside. Thank you.
Yes, honorable members, let me take a few more. Mwashako.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa nafasi. Asante kwa waziri kwa kuja kuchanganua masuala ya malipo ya dhiki katika walimu wetu na kwa wafanyikazi wa serikali. Mheshimiwa Spika, nilikuwa nataka nimwambie Mheshimiwa waziri kwamba mchakato wa mambo haya ya hardship allowance, Mheshimiwa Spika, niliuanzisha mimi mwaka wa 2019 bunge lililopita. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati huo kamati ya bunge ya kitaifa baada ya walimu wa Taita Taveta kufanya ile tunaita hapa petition, tukaleta mambo hayo hapa bungeni, na kamati ya elimu kutoka hapa bungeni ilikuwa inaongozwa na Mheshimiwa Meli wakati huo, Mheshimiwa Spika, na nashukuru mpaka sasa ni mwenyekiti wa kamati hiyo, wakatembea kule Taita Taveta. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikwambie na nimshukuru sana Mheshimiwa Meli, alikuja na wabunge hapa wakatembea sehemu ambazo zina miinuko, sehemu ambazo zinasumbuliwa, zile za nyanda za chini zinasumbuliwa na ndovu na wanyama wa pori. Walitembea wakakutana na walimu katika maeneo tofauti. Na siku ya kwanza walienda mahali na kunaitwa Ronge Zone. Katika Mwatate constituency, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna ward moja ama zone moja ambayo haipati hardship. Yaani constituency ni moja ama sub county ni moja, lakini sehemu kidogo ambayo ina matatizo zaidi ikaachwa nje. Mheshimiwa Meli alikuwepo hapo akajionea kwa macho yake. Tukatoka pale tukaenda sehemu za nyanda za chini kule Undanyi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Meli alifika mahali mpaka yeye mwenyewe akaahidi pesa ya kusaidia shule. Manake alipata shule ya upili iko na walimu 3. Manake walimu kila wakifika pale wanatoroka. Alafu tukatoka Undanyi, Mheshimiwa Spika, nikapeleka Mheshimiwa Meli na timu yake kule Taveta kwa ndugu yangu Mheshimiwa Bwire.
Avoid the temptation to make long speeches. Ask clarification.
Samani. Sasa sisi tulipoanzisha mchakato huo, Mheshimiwa Spika, nilipokuja hapa bungeni, bunge la kitaifa hili likapitisha kwamba sehemu hizo za Undanyi, Taveta na Ronge zipewe hardship. Ilipoenda kwa hiyo interministerial committee, Mheshimiwa Spika, ndio kwa sababu wakasema badala ya kupeana hardship Undanyi na Taita peke yake, wakasema watafanya Kenya nzima, ndio mambo haya yakachanganyikiwa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Sasa clarification yangu ambayo nataka niulize waziri, sisi ambao tulianzisha mchakato huu na bunge la kitaifa likasema kwamba sehemu hizo zinastahili kuwa hardship allowance, itakuwaje walimu wamengoja miaka 5, huu ni wa 6, bado tunaambiwa tunangoja tufanye a whole review ya Kenya nzima, na bunge lilisema sehemu hizo 3 zipatiwe hardship allowance. Niombe tu Mheshimiwa Spika, hii bunge ina nguvu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ulitembea kule Taveta na tukakueleza, Mheshimiwa Spika, na mwenyewe ukasema kwamba utatusaidia kufuatilia swala hili. Sisi hatuna shida na kureview Kenya nzima. Tunasema wale waliopewa na bunge la kitaifa, wacha tuambiwe na waziri kwamba Undanyi iko pale ndani, Taveta iko pale ndani, na ile wadi moja ya Ronge pia iko pale ndani, ili walimu wetu wapate afueni, tupate walimu, watoto wetu wasomeshwe, Mheshimiwa Spika. Nakushukuru sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Bowen. Kangogo Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this issue of hardship allowance. Mr. Speaker, according to the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, and even how we understand, Mr. Speaker, 80 to 89% of Kenya is arid and semi-arid. Mr. Speaker, in the entire 47 counties of Kenya, including Nairobi, teachers who are teaching in Gibera, Mr. Speaker, they undergo through a hardship because the basic necessities are not there. I want to ask the Prime Cabinet Secretary, instead of looking at that corner of the country, looking at this situation, there is a conflict there, and you call it a hardship area. Why can you come up with a general figure or a general amounts or for the entire, maybe the teachers or the civil servants, so that you give them a small increment in their salaries or something in form of hardship allowance, so that when someone is transferred to Gibera, when someone is transferred to Taita Taveta, so like the one we have with the lawyers who are not practicing, non-practicing allowance for lawyers, or non-practicing allowance for the medical staff, for the medical practitioners who are working in Kenya. So that now we don't have a petition, a piecemeal petition in this House, Honorable Speaker, every other time.
Yes, member for Kamkunji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I'd like to focus on the recruitment of Kenyans as soldiers in foreign countries, and particularly the case of Russia. I was wondering whether the CS has looked into the future, given the fact that there is a grave danger out of people who go to war for other countries. If you look at the case of Afghanistan, where many foreign nationals went to fight, when they returned back to their countries, they became radicalized and begin undermining their state, or some of them go into criminal activities. So if, as you have mentioned, these people have gone intentionally and have contracts, in this particular case, they would be categorized rightly, as you have said, as mercenaries. Is there any policy or legislations in place so that when these conflicts are over and these people come back in large numbers, that they don't undermine law and order in our society, and that the right policies and legislations are in place to protect citizens from the negative effects of the returnees? The second point that I wanted to raise is on the issue of the conflict in the Middle East at the moment, particularly the attack on Iran by the United States and Israel. I have seen a lot of the countries in the world that are associated with the United States have distanced themselves and denied their territory to be used in this conflict, like the United France and other countries, and Spain in particular. What is our position given the fact that we have defense agreements with countries like the United States? Are we looking to make sure that they don't use our territory in the conflict in Iran? And secondly, what is our position?
That is your secondly, please.
Yes, what is our principal position? Because under international law, it is obvious that this attack on Iran is against international law. It is unlawful and it's illegal. What is Kenya's position? We haven't had our position publicly.
Taitumu. Give Taitumu.
Mine is on handship allowance. During the time of the cabinet, by then the minister Andromas Otieno, there was a report like the one that we are getting from the cabinet secretary that designated parts of this country as moderate handship and others were extreme handship. What happened with that report? Because I believe that report captured the entire country where the intensity of the handship varied from geographical location to another geographical location. What informed the decision to discard that report?
Thank you. Koyo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, while I accept that Moroni sub-county, my constituency, teachers are beneficiaries of this facility, I want it known that for reasons that you all know, that we have spiraling border conflicts all the times and marauding cattle thefts. The internal security officers who wake up sometimes at midnight or very early in the morning to chase cattle rustlers, the assistant chiefs, the DOs, the DCIs, the OCPDs are not beneficiaries of this facility. So I hope that this will be taken into consideration and they should be given top priority in the next consideration. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair Orot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time. Mine, I want to touch also on hardship area, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this issue, and I want to ask this question that in my area like Londiani sub-county in Gipkelion East, initially it was captured as a hardship area. But as we talk now, we've had a lot of challenges because, Mr. Speaker, most of the teachers have sought transfers to Gipkelion East, Gipkelion West, where it's my neighborhood, because of the hardship allowances. The challenge also on the other side, like Tendeno area, where it is very cold. There is a choke in that area where people are told to go for interview, just buy warm clothes, and within 1 term or 2 terms, someone gets transferred. We have the shortage. I'm actually requesting that we should be given affirmative action to employ more teachers. As I talk, Mr. Speaker, we have now less teachers in my sub-county of Londiani. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Nguna.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mine is just to ask, last time in Parliament, we petitioned in Kitui County to be gazetted as
Order that Kamkunji is illegal. Can you disband that Kamkunji?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we successfully petitioned.
Ivo Barra, you are the convener. Go on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We petitioned Kitui County to be gazetted as anti-ship area, and we successfully did it. And even we went ahead and we did research and it was approved. That is now almost 4 years ago. And we were not only touching the issues of teachers, it is the entire public service. How far has the implementation plan gone in this government? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to know.
Mandazi?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me as well touch on the issue of hardship. For the members who went to mourn with the people of Mudavadi, most of them passed through my constituency. And they witnessed the adverse condition that my constituency is going through. Honorable Speaker, I did a petition which went through the Public Petitions Committee, and equally a recommendation was made, and that was forwarded to the office of the CS for Public Service. And when I went there to follow it up, Honorable Speaker, I was told the task force that is supposed to consider the conditions and confirm was disbanded. But then, Honorable Speaker, back at home, since I border Mudavadi and Narok West, which are equally classified, whereas my constituency is not classified, Honorable Speaker, I have suffered in terms of teacher shortage. Any teacher that lands in my constituency do not last for 2 days. I have a case in 2 primary schools, that is Yeptagum Primary School, which has a population of around 700, with only 2 teachers because of the condition. I have since passed the same information to the Teacher Service Commission, requesting for them if they can at least do affirmative action so that the shortage of teachers can be addressed as we wait for the process from the Office of the Foreign Affairs Minister. Honorable Speaker, I would like to understand where currently the position of this petition that I presented through this House and was considered through the Public Petitions Committee and was forwarded to the Ministry for consideration. Where is it currently? What is the current position for the same, so that at least the people of Chepalungu constituency can as well be considered as they go through the adverse weather conditions, like other constituencies. Thank you, all.
Carolo Mondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'll be very brief. Let me begin by acknowledging the very extensive work that has been done in this matter. In fact, the criteria is quite elaborate, and I'm very pleased with it, to say the least. However, I was just wondering whether we could include as part of the criteria 2 other parameters using certain indicators, such as prevalence of diseases. I mean, there are some areas, you will know where poverty is prevalent if you take a multidimensional poverty, if you use multidimensional poverty indicators, one of which is prevalence of certain diseases. I see there's something distance to hospital facilities and the rest, but I think we needed to have more information, or if we use poverty and disease prevalence as an indicator or as part of the criteria, I think it would be enriched. But otherwise, it is very extensive. And a quick look at it, I'm very convinced the 2 Suba North and South will qualify. As of today, we only have Suba, which is Suba North, where we have Mfangano Island and Rusinga Islands. There are other islands, as Honorable Chanda said. We have Kiwa Island, Remba Island, and Kibwogi Island, which should also qualify. And finally, if you look at the criteria for Machakos, Nyeri, Kiambu, Ndeya, Karai locations, Nyandarua, again, that criteria, I think, would help us get more areas. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, I really support this, and I think it will go a long way in harmonizing this classification of hardship areas. Thank you very much.
Member for Malindi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Waziri, niko hapa leo na swali langu ni kuhusu wale watalii wenye ambao wanaweza kutembelea nchi yetu nzuri ya Kenya. Na sisi tunakaribisha wageni, lakini shida ni kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika na Waziri, si kila mgeni anayefika hapa Kenya amekuja hapa kwa matumaini ya kuweza kufanya utalii hapa ndani ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, niko na watalii kadhaa wa kadhaa ndani ya constituency yangu ya Malindi ambao tumewapokea kwa unyenyekevu na kwa mapenzi yote, na wanapofika kule Mheshimiwa Spika, wanawalawiti watoto wetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, niko na kesi Mheshimiwa Spika ya kijana mmoja ambaye anaitwa Michael Valentine, mwenye ambaye ni raia wa South Africa, na huyu mwanamume ama huyu kijana Mheshimiwa Spika amekuwa na kesi za kulawiti watoto katika baina miaka 3 mpaka miaka 9. Alishikwa katika hicho kitendo Mheshimiwa Spika, mapolisi wakaweza kuarifiwa Mheshimiwa Spika, na kwa bahati mbaya huyu jamaa Mheshimiwa Spika aliweza kukimbia na akapotea mpaka leo. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaposimama hapa niko na kilio cha wale watoto wenye ambao wameharibiwa maisha yao. Mtoto wa miaka 3, mtoto wa miaka 5, mtoto wa miaka 7 ama 8 anaingizwa ndani ya gari, na Mheshimiwa Spika, siwezi hata kueleza yale mambo ambayo hawa watoto wanafanyiwa na wale watalii wenye ambao wanakuja kuzuru Kenya yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni masikitiko makubwa sana. Tangu 2024, 2025 mpaka dakika hii Mheshimiwa Waziri, wale watoto hawajaweza kupata ile haki yao. So mimi swali langu Mheshimiwa Spika ni kwamba huyu mwanamume mwenye ambaye anajulikaniwa na details zake ziko katika Malindi Police Station, OB number iko pale, majina yake yako pale, mamake anaishi pale ndani ya Malindi, ni kitu gani ambacho kinaendelea mpaka dakika hii ya kwamba hii serikali yetu huyu mwanamume mpaka leo hii Mheshimiwa Spika hajawahi kushikwa? Niko na kilio cha mama, ni kilio cha haki cha watoto wetu, na Mheshimiwa Spika si yeye peke yake. Ukiangalia sehemu zile ambazo kuna watalii, kuna wazungu wengi ambao wanakuja kuharibu watoto wetu. Nataka kujua ile mikakati yenye ambayo tuko nao sisi kama serikali ya Kenya ya kuweza kuzuilia mambo kama haya yasiendelee kufanyika, na ile haki ya watoto wetu itapatikaniwa vipi? Asante sana Speaker.
PCS, those are another 10. You can now take a response. They're all generic. They're all generic. The different one is the one from Munyanzi. And what I would want you to tell the House and the country is the apparent revelation of weak management system in TSC. Because you cannot employ teachers, post them, and at the whim of a complaint, you transfer them to where they want. We have recruited 100,000 teachers in this country. So the ratio of teachers to students in the country must have dramatically improved with this recruitment. It is a shame to continue hearing that a school with 700 children has 2 teachers or no teacher at all. So we need PCS as the holder of the policy to ensure that you strengthen the management system of particularly TSC, so that teachers posted to schools must remain in those schools. When they are employed, they always sign that I'm ready to work anywhere and everywhere in this country. Immediately they are posted, first salary, take me to where there is hardship. This is the weak link in this matter. PCS.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Let me very quickly just try and flag some issues. But first, let me concur with the sentiments from the chair, Mr. Speaker, that the Ministry of Education and the Teachers Service Commission need to review and ensure that the issue of deployment of teachers is better managed so that we do not have this sudden disparity that we are seeing even after we've recruited so many teachers, 100,000 and another 25,000 are on the way to be recruited. So that is a valid concern which I will communicate and work with the Ministry of Education to emphasize. Now, Mr. Speaker, I just want to repeat that on the issue of the hardship, very valid examples are being given, Mr. Speaker. The comment from the Member of Parliament from Kitui, it's again a matter that has been canvassed within this technical committee, and we hope that once we are through with the legal impediments, we can be able to address this. The other thing that I wish to point out is that, yes, there was the Dalmas Otieno report, but that was undertaken in 2009. So 10 years, which was 2019, there was the review of the other report. So I'm sure the circumstances in a number of areas that were undertaken during the late Dalmas Otieno's stewardship may have changed quite dramatically in certain areas. But again, we will take note and address that as we start looking at the implementation of the report. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Bowen and many others in different ways raised the issue about the harmonization of allowances. This is why the Salaries Review Commission is in place. It was clearly the mandate as set out in a law passed by this Parliament that we need to move away from discretionary approaches to salary adjustments or designation and have a structured institution that is independent that can carry out this. And that is why the SRC has the mandate to advise and approve on specific rates on allowances by the various officers. It cannot be done arbitrarily by the executive. We have to respect the institutions that have been put in place. Mr. Speaker, I do agree that on the parameters, there'll be need to continuously revise them so that they're more specific and maybe more detailed in approach, and the whole idea of having the prevalence of certain diseases is critical as a parameter, either in measuring accessibility to health or to water. I think this becomes a valid point from the Honorable Karoli Umondi. The issue that has been narrated about the criminal by the name Michael Valentine in Malindi is most unfortunate. I would plead that if the honorable member can maybe perhaps, so that we direct it specifically, because it's a very targeted question, we direct it to the Ministry of Interior so that they can have more concrete responses to that. But it's a very unfortunate situation, and it definitely deserves to be handled very, very seriously. Mr. Speaker, the issue of again, the Honorable Mandazi's specific issue, again, we would want to look at that petition specifically so that we know where it stands. It would be important for us to track after the submission where it did go. Once again, I just want to say that
You should touch on Hassan of Kamkunji.
Yes, I'm coming there.
Okay.
I'm coming there, yeah, Mr. Speaker. Now, on the Hassan issue, there were two specific issues. One, he did raise the issue about how do we manage these individuals who have acquired very dangerous skills coming back into the country, because then they could find their way into very dangerous activities that will pose security challenges to Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we are, as a government, through the relevant agencies, keeping a very close track of these individuals after they have been identified. At the same time, we also get them to go through de-radicalization processes because it's those who have either acquired military skills, those who have acquired cyber skills, they also go through a process once we are able to identify them so that they do not cause harm to the country. But the threat is real. And also I did indicate earlier that these are illegal activities. And whereas there may be some measure of leniency at this initial stage for those who may have unwillingly found themselves in this dilemma, in the long run, the full force of the law must come into play. And I did cite the various sections of the law that could have been breached, and therefore there'll be need for action against these particular individuals. On the issue of Kenya's position to the Middle East conflict at this point in time, the President of Kenya has pronounced himself to this, and he has been very specific that Kenya remains strategically neutral, and we have insisted that we should see a multilateral approach and resolution to this crisis so that multilateral institutions like the UN can play their respective role in helping to mitigate conflicts globally. We have called for de-escalation of this conflict because it's having serious ramifications globally, and Kenya will not escape some of those challenges, including the possibility of heightened terrorism activities as an aftermath or consequence of these various battles that are going on. I want to state categorically that Kenya is not a party to the conflict. We are not at war. And other than what you might call consequential threats of the war, Kenya is not a party to this conflict. And we are doing everything to make sure that Kenyans do not fall in the harm's way. Thank you.
Yes, I think on those 4 policy issues, I want to stop there. We have 2 questions. One from Oundo, another from Mwenje. They have consistently come here to beg the Speaker to allow the questions to be answered. If I give you 10 minutes, can you run through them?
Yes.
Are you ready with them?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Whoever has them, can you bring the... If we can do it in 10 minutes, we have a very weighty matter coming on supplementaries. Because we also have a question or a supplementary to a question. Yes. Let me deal with these 2 formal questions first. Mwenje and Oundo. Mwenje, you can go first. Let me see, just hold on, Mwenje. Yes, Mwenje.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise to ask question
PCS, I've got only 10 minutes for these 2 questions.
Of 2026, and I'll go straight to the question. Could the Cabinet Secretary, 1, state the immediate measures the government has put in place to mitigate the effects of flooding currently affecting several parts of Nairobi County? 2, clarify whether there are any coordination mechanisms between the national government and the county government of Nairobi to ensure that the road construction and other infrastructure development projects incorporate adequate drainage systems that do not exacerbate flooding in residential areas. 3, outline the long-term measures or strategies put in place to improve stormwater drainage systems, flood control measures, and climate-resilient infrastructure within Nairobi County in coordination with the county governments. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
PCS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to respond as follows. Mr. Speaker, but first, before I just touch on the question, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the government to sincerely convey our condolences to the families that lost their loved ones during the recent flood in the country and more so in Nairobi. Now, immediate steps that the government is putting in place is as follows. There are those that are emergency and those that will be short to medium term and long term solutions. Immediate, for instance, we've pushed for immediate clearance and rehabilitation of primary stormwater drainage systems across flood-prone areas such as Mathare, Mukuru, Isili, South B, and the Central Business District to try and restore water flow and reduce flooding. We have establishment of a coordinated emergency response unit comprising the national government, county disaster teams, and the security agencies to support evacuation and rescue operations and humanitarian wastage. We are also working closely in utilizing the flood early warning systems, deployment in real time to help in monitoring where there could be challenges. We are also talking to residents so that we have riparian enforcement and evacuation measures so that eventually we can demarcate these areas and protect them because they have really been encroached and they cause a lot of problems. Most recently, for instance, there's been the threat around Nairobi Dam, which is not too far from here. We are also investing in temporary infrastructure protection measures involving the installation of temporary flood barriers, reinforcement of drainage corridors, and protection of critical infrastructure, including roads and bridges. Mr. Speaker, these interventions are more on an emergency basis. Now, let me very briefly just talk to the coordination mechanisms between the national government and the Nairobi City County government. Mr. Speaker, most recently, the national government has entered into a cooperation agreement which we can supply or table to the House so that they can be privy to this. It's a public document where the national government working with the county government will have a joint steering committee so that we can work together. The joint steering committee is chaired by me and Governor Sakaja is the vice chair. Then we have a second aspect of it, which is the implementation committee in this cooperation framework, where the governor of Nairobi is the chair, and he works with the principal secretaries of the very critical ministries that deal with matters around infrastructure. And it is estimated that to take the corrective action in several areas, it could require close to 80 billion Kenya shillings over time. And therefore, there's need for cooperation between the national government and the county, bearing in mind that this is the capital city of Kenya. And there's no way at this point in time that the county government of Nairobi can raise all these funds. So there's need for collaboration in interventions. We have, Mr. Speaker, prepared draft concept or white papers which focus on several areas, on water and sanitation, the issue of safe streets, the issues of markets and urban economy, the legal, finance and governance aspects, matters of environment and green development, urban security, and all this intervention is going to be on an integrated basis without usurping the powers and the functions of the county government of Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, in the long-term measures, in the outline that I've given, within the context of the very brief outline on the white paper concept, we have both short-term, medium-term, and long-term approaches to how we can deal with the issues that affect Nairobi. And Mr. Speaker, if one can point out that already as we speak, the national government is undertaking a lot of programs. For instance, there was no new seaway investment in the city of Nairobi since those from the colonial system. Right now, the government of Kenya is investing very, very substantive resources that will help in changing the face of Nairobi and improving on matters of water and sanitation. And with that, the issue of planning, zoning will then become a consequential adjustment, bearing in mind that now there'll be more sewer, more infrastructure, better roads, more security that will come through.
Mwenje, you assured me you are satisfied. You will not ask a supplementary. I'm not giving you. Oundo?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like the cabinet.
I'm sure you look at, there's a very detailed response. you can tease out all the issues and go and play politics with them. Yes, Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like the Cabinet Secretary to explain the delays in the operationalization of the Mluanda border crossing point in the Funyula constituency, which was commissioned by His Excellency the late President Mwai Kibaki on 28th March 2009, and the subsequent Presidential Directive of 14th June 2024 for purpose of establishing an entry and exit point between Kenya and Uganda. B, state the steps or actions taken to implement the resolution of the Joint Technical Committee JTC meeting of Kenya and Uganda held on 18th to 20th April 2023 for the development of entry and exit points at Konyao in West Pokot County, Lokiriama in Turkana, and Mluanda in Busia County. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. PCS, I assign 5 minutes for that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, this is a matter that has been on the cards, on the table for quite some time, and I wish to respond as follows. Mr. Speaker, the operationalization of the Mluanda border post requires concurrence with the government of Uganda. In this regard, the Border Control Operations Coordination Committee meeting was held on 29th July 2025, and it highlighted the need for both the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to pursue further conversation with the Republic of Uganda. The committee further proposed a joint site visit of the Kenyan and Ugandan authorities to identify the suitable land for setting up of the proposed port of entry. Technically, the boundary formation between Kenya and Uganda at Mluanda and Bujinde area needs to be done in order to determine the exact coordinates where the port of entry should be established. Kenya International Boundaries Office, KIBO, is apprised of this issue, and in February 2026, the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs requested, that is just a month or so away, behind us, the Republic of Uganda for a joint reaffirmation and demarcation of activities in the Mluanda-Bunyinde area. The Republic of Uganda has proposed that the said activities should commence in May 2026. The road to the proposed port of entry is a rural road. The committee has recommended the road upgrade of Nangina Junction to Mluanda. The road should be upgraded from Class C to Class A to meet the standards required for international trunk roads effectively support the cross-border trade, security, and mobility. I think the second aspect of it is the steps or actions taken to implement the resolutions of the Joint Technical Committee. And I have indicated briefly that we met, but that is the committees met, and we hope that in May 2026 this conversation can be done. However, over and above that, let me update that in terms of the proposed port, the government through the Kenya Revenue Authority has acquired 20 acres of land for the establishment of the Konyao border. KRA is the designated lead agency in land borders in terms of the issue around ports of entry and so forth. And is in the process of also acquiring prefabricated containers for temporary deployment of key agencies. Among them, we will put immigration, health, customs, and so forth. Now, the environmental impact assessment report from NEMA has been conducted and forwarded to KRA so that this implementation process planning can be done. Mr. Speaker, let me just point out very quickly that when it comes to the issue of dealing with the borders. It's quite complicated in the sense that you have to get the concurrence of the neighboring country. And we are still working on on many segments of our border. Between us and Tanzania, Kibo is working very closely to continue, because some countries take longer. You have to budget, it's a very expensive exercise. And I know Ondo is a surveyor, so he knows somewhat from a technical perspective the issues that I'm raising. So apart from concurrence and mutual understanding, you cannot just go and start demarcating a border between you and another country. The need to make sure that you're working in tandem is very, very important. We have a similar situation in completing the process of our border with South Sudan, completing our border with Ethiopia. We are also working even on the side of Somalia to make sure that this process is done smoothly. So there are multiple areas, but specifically to this one, we hope that in the May meeting, we can now come to concurrence with our neighbor and we proceed.
Ondo, you also assured me you will not ask a supplementary, so I'm not giving you. You said you had seen the report, the answer, and you are satisfied. PCS, yes, Bukose, I've given you.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the PCS for the responses. But I was listening to this issue about the hardship allowance for many areas. And this is something that has been coming on in almost every parliament. Now, I thought from his report that there is a multi-agency that was formed. Is it possible, mine is a request, it's not a question, that we can have maybe even a Kamukunji or a sitting where that report for the multi-agency is brought before the members who are affected, and then we agree on a way forward so that, because I know many members are dissatisfied with the responses that have been given, with all due respect, Honorable Speaker.
PCS, I think what I heard you say is that the conclusion of the report is halted by a court process, yes. Right? If we give it like 2-3 months for the court process to end, how long would it take you to bring the final report here? With all the salient issues, you can see the psyche of every member is for the interest of having teachers, they want the areas declared hardship, even when they visibly are not. I've not heard of any situation where a lot of rain can cause hardship. You had the case of one member. So when do you think you can bring the final report, to which I'll assign a Kamkunji? You come here as PCS with ministers whose dockets are constantly debated for hardship. Interior, education, and which other one? I think those are the key. Interior and education. You come with them, leading them to discuss fully and conclusively with members. Areas where there have been promises but not fulfilled. Areas where there have been declassified. And really, members of parliament, as leaders of this country, it's our dream to have none of any areas of this country called hardship going to the future. That's what we should be aspiring for. But as we head there, we need a harmonized way of having these hardships, because how do you have, for example, what you said, PCS, one department says they have 16 hardship areas, another one has 44, another one has 21 in the same country. Because hardship for a teacher should be hardship for a DO, should be hardship for a policeman, and so on and so forth. So we give you time to look at all these things, And at an appropriate time, once you are ready, signal my office. I'll give you an opportunity to come with those departments and rein in TSC because that is the biggest area of complaint. At the end of the day, our children go through and face the same exams. A school with 2 teachers and a school with 20 teachers cannot